All the information we know about the world we live in comes to us through our five senses. The world we know consists of what we see with our eyes, what our hands touch, what our noses inhale, our tongues taste it, and our ears hear it. Modern science has come up with facts that confirm that we live in a world of electrical signals, because everything that reaches us comes from the outside world in which we live. It turns into electrical signals inside the amazing brain, made up of billions of nerve cells. Do your eyes see a yellow flower? How was your process of seeing the yellow flower? This happened in successive stages. The light beam that was emitted by the yellow flower crossed through the iris of your eye to reflect on the retina at the back of the eye. Then the light transmitted by the nerve cells was transformed into electrical signals that were transmitted to a very small point located in the back of the brain called the visual center. The visual center receives these electrical signals and converts them after several operations into a complete image. This meaning that the vision process took place in this very small spot at the back of the brain, which is a very dark spot that never sees light. What we receive through the process of hearing, touching, tasting, and smell is transmitted to the brain in the form of electrical signals and is perceived in the center of each of these senses. The outer ear collects the sound waves surrounding it and delivers them to the middle ear. Then the middle ear transmits the sound vibrations it received to the inner ear. The inner ear converts these vibrations into electrical signals and then sends them to the brain. The process of hearing takes place in the hearing center in the brain, even though it is completely isolated from the external sound source. Our perception of the smells we inhale is achieved in the same way as it is with the senses of sight and hearing. The volatile atoms from a flower reach the receptors located on the tiny hairs in the nasal cavity. Then something like an interaction happens to her. This reaction is transmitted to the brain in the form of electrical signals, which the brain receives in the form of a smell. As is the case with the senses of hearing and sight, volatile atoms never reach the brain. What reaches the brain is merely electrical signals. Is it the brain that sees and perceives? If we analyze the brain, we will find that there are only fats and proteins in it, and these same components are found in many other living organs, meaning that there is nothing in the piece of meat that we call the brain that makes us see different images or what constitutes our awareness, or each of us has an entity that we call me or myself. If we think carefully, do all the images we see around us actually see inside the brain? Are the brain atoms then the ones that see these images, while they are blind, deaf atoms with no awareness or understanding? Why did some brain atoms gain the ability to see, hear, and smell, while other atoms in the human body did not? Does everything we do, including thinking, understanding, perceiving, remembering, and feeling happy or sad, consist of electrical mechanical interactions between brain atoms? When we think about these questions, we find that it is useless to try to search for will in the atoms of the brain. It is clear that the being who sees, hears, and feels is a being far superior to matter. This being is a living being, and not just matter or an image of matter. This being connects the sensory perceptions in front of it using its physical body. It is a being far superior to matter. Is the sublime being that resides in our bodies the spirit or the soul? Is there a difference between them? People's opinions differed regarding what is called the soul and the spirit. Are they the same thing or two different things? Some people say that they are one thing. Others say that they are two different things. And others say that they are one thing. But it is called a soul if it enters the body, and it is called a spirit if it leaves the body. Let us learn more about the concept of the spirit and the soul in some Quranic verses, and whether they are actually two different things or one thing, and which opinion is closest to the truth. So when I have fashioned him, and had a spirit of my own breathed into him, fall down in prostration to him. They ask you about the spirit. Say, its nature is known only to my Lord, and you have been given but little knowledge. And the one who guarded her chastity, so we breathed into her through our angel, making her and her son a sign for all peoples. Then he fashioned them and had a spirit of his own breathed into them, and he gave you hearing, sight, and intellect. You hardly give any thanks. The spirit is the driving force for all the organs and cells of the human body, and through it the nourishment, movement, resurrection, and life of this body are accomplished. Were it not for the spirit, the body would stop moving and would become inert and motionless, like all other inanimate objects. Today, every soul will be rewarded for what it has done. No injustice today. Surely Allah is swift in reckoning. O believers, be mindful of Allah, and let every soul look to what it has sent forth for tomorrow, and fear Allah. Certainly Allah is all aware of what you do. Allah does not require of any soul more than what it can afford. All good will be for its own benefit, and all evil will be to its own loss. Every soul will taste death, and we test you with good and evil as a trial. Then to us you will be returned. The soul is the foundation of man. It is the one that will be held accountable and rewarded on the day of judgment. It is the one that feels, rejoices, grieves, and suffers. And it is the one that will taste death after the soul is taken from the body. The body that it was wearing temporarily, and was the mediator between it and the material world. The main components of a human being are like a car with its driver. The car's body is only an intermediary between the driver and his outside world. The human body is also considered an intermediary between the soul and the material earthly world. The car cannot respond to external stimuli if the driver gets out of it. Likewise, an unconscious or sleeping body cannot respond to external stimuli if the soul leaves it. When the driver leaves his car, a certain relationship remains between them. He will return to it immediately if he feels that there is any influence on it. Likewise, the soul has a certain relationship with the body. It will return to it as quickly as possible if any influence affects it. What feels is not the body of the car or its energy, but rather the driver alone. Likewise, it is the soul that feels by using the body that derives life from the spirit. The withdrawal of the car's energy means its end, not the end of the driver. Likewise, the spirit leaving the body means its death, not the death of the soul. Repairing a car and replacing a damaged part of it is very similar to treating a human and replacing any damaged organ. A jinn riding on a person and using his body is very similar to a thief hijacking a car with its driver and taking control of its driving. When a person sleeps, he becomes like a dead corpse, even though his heart is still beating and his lungs are working non-stop. What happened to him? Did his spirit or soul leave his body? Allah calls back the souls upon their death as well as of the living during their sleep. Then He keeps those for whom He has ordained death and releases the others until appointed time. Surely in this are signs for people who reflect. A person's spirit remains in the body when he sleeps because his heart is still beating, but the reason for the loss of consciousness and awareness of the sleeping body is the departure of the soul from it. The departure of the spirit from the body means the death of the body, while the departure of the soul from the body means sleep and the loss of awareness of the body, while the awareness and perception of the soul remains in another unknown world. The soul does not get tired, does not age, and does not need the rest that the human body needs. For this reason, the soul leaves the body every time a person sleeps. During sleep, the soul leaves the body into another unknown world similar to Barzakh life. Allah reminds us of it every night we sleep, so that we may think more and remember death and resurrection. So that no soul will say, "Woe to me," for neglecting Allah while ridiculing. The soul is assigned to work only when it is inside the body, meaning that the soul is not responsible for the actions it performs during sleep, no matter how bad they are. Because a person sleeps approximately a third of his life, he only has 2/3 of his life left to work. When a person dies, his spirit returns to the spirit of Allah, the origin from which it was created. As for the body, it returns to the dust of the earth, the origin from which it was created, until the trumpet is blown and those in the graves are resurrected. And the horn will be blown, and at once, from the graves to their Lord, they will hasten. As for the soul that was wearing the body, it moves to the Barzakh life, and remains there until the hour comes, and its body grows again, so that it can wear it, and the day of judgment begins. Until when death comes to one of them, he says, "My Lord, send me back, so that I may do good in that which I have left behind." No, it is but a word that he speaks, and behind them is Barzakh, until the day when they will be resurrected. What is the purpose of human life if death is destiny? There is no meaning or purpose to a person's life if he truly ends and disappears with death. But does a person really cease to exist? Do all his components disappear? Nothing disappears from a person upon his death except his physical body, which returns to dust. As for the spirit that was breathed by Allah, it returns to its Creator. And nothing remains of the person except the soul that used to feel and perceive, which moves with the death of the body to the Barzakh life, which is a life without work. But we will know at that time for sure that our life in this world was only for work. The Barzakh life is the fourth stage of our lives. What are the 3 stages that preceded this stage? The atom life stage is the first stage of our life. It is the life of the soul without body or spirit, a life that is difficult for us to understand. And at this stage, human souls were created all at once, and in it we witnessed for ourselves the creation of our offspring from the appearance of the sons of Adam. And when the Creator asked us, "Am I not your Lord?" we spoke and said, "Yes," and the angels bore witness to our testimony. When your Lord took out the offspring from the loins of the children of Adam and made them bear witness about themselves, he said, "Am I not your Lord?" And they replied, "Yes, we bear witness." So you cannot say, on the day of resurrection, we were not aware of this. The womb life stage is the second stage of our life, and it is the shortest stage we go through. During this stage, the spirit is breathed into the fetus's body, and the soul is sent to it. We do not remember anything from this stage, even though it really was. We must think carefully about the ability of Allah to create us at this stage, which through modern technology enables us to see it with our own eyes, so that we know with certainty the greatness and power of the Creator. He is the one who created you from dust, then from a drop of semen, then from a clot. After that, He takes you out as an infant. Then He makes you grow, so that you reach your full maturity, and thereafter become old, and some of you die earlier, and so that you reach the appointed term, and so that you understand. The earth life stage is the third stage of our lives. It is one of the most important and dangerous stages that we go through, because we will be held accountable for all the actions that we do. The years that we live in this stage are limited and usually do not exceed 70 years. And our work is mainly concentrated in the youth period between the ages of 20 and 50. That means only about 30 years of our life in the third stage. If we subtract from these years the period of sleep for which we are not held accountable, we will only have 20 years left for real work. We will truly be losers if we do not take advantage of this short period of our lives to do everything that can increase our balance of good deeds in the afterlife. The only life in which we will taste, insha'Allah, the true and lasting taste of happiness. We must know during our lives in the third stage that the earth and all that it contains cannot satisfy the infinite desires of the human soul. Even if the human soul possessed all the treasures of the earth, it would not calm down or rest, because it knows that the body it wears gets tired, sick, aging, and eroded with the passage of time, which means that death is inevitably coming. The human soul will not calm down on this earth unless it possesses all the means of material happiness, with abundant, uninterrupted money, health, permanent comfort for the body, and renewed youth for the body, without any aging or death. A life that is impossible to exist in the life of this world on this fleeting earth. The human being inherits a small black leech in the heart that affects the nature of the human soul. Through this leech, Satan is able to spread his obsessions into the human soul. The intensity and strength of this leech varies from person to person, depending on the person's life and the way he uses his five senses. The black leech grows with the growth of the body and is very small in the heart of a child, and Satan is not able to begin broadcasting his obsessions until it becomes a certain size. The reason for this black leech may be the first sin of our master Adam, when Satan was able to convince him to eat from the tree that he was forbidden from approaching. The black leech is real and exists in the hearts of all people. And the noble hadith that narrated the story of the Prophet Muhammad, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, cutting open his chest while he was playing with his playmates, is considered clear evidence of the reality of the black leech, and that it helps Satan in spreading his obsessions into our souls, whose desires cannot be satisfied by everything on the earth. Anas ibn Malik reported that Gabriel came to the Messenger of Allah, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, while he was playing with his playmates. He took hold of him and lay him prostrate on the ground, and tore open his breast, and took out the heart from it, and then extracted a blood clot out of it, and said, "That was the part of Satan in thee." And then he washed it with the water of Zamzam in a golden basin, and then it was joined together and restored to its place. The boys came running to his mother and said, "Verily, Muhammad has been murdered." They all rushed toward him and found him all right. His color was changed. Anas said, "I myself saw the marks of needle on his breast." We must take advantage of every day of our lives by using our senses in a way that purifies our souls from the effects of the dangerous black leech. And we must be very careful that nothing reaches our souls that could defile them or increase the spread of the black leech. Because if this happens, it will enable Satan to control the actions of our souls. Then it becomes a soul that commands evil. Most people increase the spread of the black leech in their hearts during their daily lives, and they do not feel the danger of this matter for them. And many people do not think or try to use the many methods which contribute to purifying the human soul from the danger of the black leech disease. To confirm the severity of the seriousness of this matter and the necessity of disinfection and purifying the human soul, Allah Almighty swore in the Holy Quran by 11 great creatures in one oath that the only one who won was the one who disinfected and purified his soul, and the only one who lost was the one who contaminated his soul. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, by the sun and its brightness, and the moon as it follows it, and the day as it unveils it, and the night as it conceals it, and by heaven and the one who built it, and the earth and the one who spread it, and by the soul and the one who fashioned it. Then with the knowledge of right and wrong inspired it. Successful indeed is the one who purifies their soul, and doomed is the one who corrupts it. How old have you been so far? How many years of your youth are left? Are you over half your age? Are you seriously thinking about purifying yourself and cleansing it of all that is bad? Do you really want to get rid of the effects of the black leech through which Satan controls you? Follow the second part of this series with us to learn how to cleanse the black leech from our hearts so that our souls become reassured.